Hi. Just going to wait and see if anyone pops online. I've got something I wanted to just mention that crops up a lot. And it's something I'm going to say about anxiety and something that you might not like what I'm going to say, or it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it's really important. And I can now look back and reflect, and I don't think I would have really liked people saying this to me, but now I can see why it would have been true. Give me a thumbs up or a hearts if anyone's there, because I can't see. I think there's a bit of a delay when I'm on here, and I can't see if anyone's there. So give us a wave or a shout or a whatever to say hi, and then I'm going to tell you what it is that there's a thumbs up. Oh, I can see Catherine's there. Hello, sweetie. You okay? Okay, so this could work for anxiety. It could work if you've got some kind of illness. Oh, hi. Hey, it's coming up much quicker this time. Oh, that's nice. So I can see who's there. So say hi. This can work whether you have some kind of illness, or you are anxious, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling stressed, or anything. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it in terms of anxieties. That's what I'm talking mostly about up here. And what I want to say to you is, if you are feeling anxious or stressed, good towel petal, oh, very Yorkshire. You are in Yorkshire still, aren't you, Catherine? I think you are. I don't know. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you'll still be in Yorkshire. Is to ask yourself the question, or to just reflect on how invested you are in your anxiety. Now, it sounds a bit daft, doesn't it, to say that, because knowing how horrible it feels, I'm pretty sure that anybody who feels that anxious does not feel as though they are invested in that. Like, why would you be? Why would you be invested in that when it feels horrible? Yeah, you want to get rid of it. So why on earth would you be invested in stress or anxiety? But actually, when we're giving something lots of attention, when it starts to become our story about who we are, when we start to see it as something that defines us, that's a part of our character, then we're investing in it, because we're investing in ourselves all the time, and we think about ourselves and our world and our experience all the time. So if a big part of your world, your life, your identity, as you see it, is anxiety, then you're investing massively in it. So if you are questioning what you can do from day to day because you might get anxious, that's a big investment in time and thought around anxiety. If you put blame on anxiety for, the way your relationship is, or the way that you are in your job, or anything like that, again, that's you investing in it. That's you going along with this story that actually your life is dictated by it. And I used to do it. Hi. I used to do it a lot. Because when you're in that throes of anxiety or stress or depression, or your relationship's not going so well, or whatever it is, you can kind of go to bed thinking, oh, well, I know what I'm faced with again tomorrow, because it starts to define, you believe your story is that this is just how you are. This is just what's going to happen. This is how you've been for however long, and this is what's going to continue to happen. And the fact of the matter is that none of us know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. But if we start to create this future experience through our thinking, then it's highly likely we're going to be feeling a certain way, because it's our thoughts that create that feeling. So, and our human experience is created through our thinking. I'm always very anxious. See, so again, that's kind of, that comment, I'm sorry to hear that, and it's not nice, and I know exactly how it feels, as do a lot of people probably watching this video. But that there is an example of, I know that's how it feels for you. Okay, I get that. But if that's the dialogue and that's the story, that I am always anxious, and if we're telling ourselves that we're always anxious, even at times where anxiety was a huge part of my day or my week or my month or my year, I wasn't always 100% of the time anxious, because there were times when my thinking fell away and I felt calmer and more relaxed. So again, just think about how you're talking to yourself. So it might be that at the moment, it feels to you like you're anxious a lot, you're having a lot of anxious thinking. But even just changing that from always to what feels quite a lot is lessening it. Because if we tell ourselves we're always a certain way, we're going to fall into line with that, because we're creating an identity almost of ourselves based on what we've experienced or what we think we've experienced, and then we just assume that's our future. Well, I'm sat here now telling you that although at times I had felt as though that was who I was and how I was always going to be, I'm now sat here telling you that that is not the case. That's no longer the case. So if that's no longer the case for me, then why can't that then no longer be the case for anybody else? Because none of us know what tomorrow is going to bring. Someone who feels that they've never experienced anxiety in their lives, well, that was me at one stage, and then it hit me because I was building up lots of anxious thoughts over a long period of time and didn't realize that could happen to anybody. And actually that can also stop for people. So just be mindful, or just reflect on how invested you are in this story that you're anxious. I have people come to me, and obviously I would never share personal details, but unless people wanted me to, I have people coming to me, and I can tell through their dialogue and through the things that they say to me that their attachment and investment to their anxiety is huge, because they can't imagine any other way. They can't imagine any other way to be, because their thinking is creating this experience for them that even if in the space of 1 hour, half an hour of that is enthralled with really strong anxious feelings, but the other half is less, it's kind of like, I was really anxious for that hour. We kind of define our whole experience as that because it feels intense in that moment, but that's not the whole experience. And so it's just kind of interesting just to reflect on how invested are you in that. And I'm not saying that you're enjoying being anxious. Of course you're not. You're not enjoying being stressed. I'm sure you're not enjoying falling out with your partner or being stressed at work. Like, nobody's saying that you're doing it to yourself and you're enjoying it. But we are creating it ourselves through our thinking. And we are often very invested in it without realizing. We talk about it as though it's just a given. I'm only anxious in certain situations. Yeah, Claire. And that again highlights that, yeah, of course you are. You're only anxious in certain situations because they're the situations where you have a lot of anxious thinking about stuff. So again, it's created often by stories, as I spoke before about phobias, that, we decide we have these phobias or something might trigger it, and then it's kind of like, oh, that's me, I have a phobia. So every time you go into that situation, you are creating lots of anxious thinking about it, which then creates lots of feelings and anxieties and fears and all of that stuff. And it's that story that you have, that you're invested in, and you're kind of invested in it because you don't really feel that you know any different, but you do, because you've not always had this. You weren't born with it. So someone else there mentions health anxiety. None of us are born with health anxiety. But anxiety and anxious thinking creates anxious feeling. Those anxious feelings can create symptomatic things in our bodies. Now, that then creates more thinking. So health anxiety is a vicious cycle of that. And yeah, it's horrible. I think most people who get into a spiral of overwhelmed stress and anxious thinking will experience some level of health anxiety, in the sense that we analyse and overthink absolutely everything, including what's going on in our body. But it is us that's doing it. It's us that's creating it through our own thoughts. So we can stop that. It doesn't mean we'll never ever do it. Of course we will. but we don't have to invest in it so heavily. And when we're not so invested in it, it won't stay. Are we born with OCD? No, Claire, definitely not. It's the same thing. OCD is another form of anxiety that people categorize as obsessive compulsive because it's compulsive stuff. But again, it's your thoughts, it's the compulsive thinking that's generating then those behaviors. But it ultimately comes down to the thinking. And sometimes the behaviors are there to stop the discomfort of the feeling. And again, those feelings come from the thoughts. So it all starts with that overthinking. So it's about reflecting on how invested we are in it. And sometimes the investment in that is because it's all we think that we know. But again, that's just thought. We're just creating that. That's the story. Well, this is how it's been for so long. And if people say to you, well, if you've had OCD for 10 years then, and and I can actually remember as a therapist in our early days, kind of buying into this a bit that, well, do you know what? If you've had it for 10 years, I'm bought into this personally. If you've been anxious for however long, then it's going to take you probably at least that to get right. And that is just not true. That's just not true. So I just wanted to share that with you. As usual, I've rambled on longer than I anticipated. I was thinking I'll just do a really quick video and then I just get into it because I love doing these videos. So I hope you're all well, and I will try and pop in again soon. If anyone's joining me on Thursday, it's 6:30 till 8:30 online. I'm doing a 2-hour coaching call of the event that talks about all of the principles that I use in this coaching. So anyone that is doing that, you will go away understanding what these principles, you might not fully understand them, but you will go away with a really good insight and a good start on what these principles are. Anyone that isn't and wants to, I'll pop the link in here. It's online on Thursday. It's £10 and it lasts 2 hours, and there will be opportunity in there for you to ask me lots of questions. Let's have a look. .com/events. So it's saritaylor.com/events. That shows you the events for this Thursday, which is the online one, which I think is down at the bottom. And then there's also 2 that are local to Sale and Manchester, if anyone wants to do that face to face. But that is in August in the daytime and then September in the evening. I'd love to do loads more dates, but I just don't have the time because I'm doing a lot of one-to-one work with clients and courses and all sorts of things. So, okay, so I will leave that there. I've posted the link. And I hope everybody's well, and just to know that you are innately well. You weren't born like that. None of you were born with the stress that you feel at times, or the overwhelm, the anxiety, or the depression, or whatever it is. None of you were. You have the ability to be calm and to feel better. And I know that will be happening to you. No matter who it is or what you experience, I know that you're having moments where you're calmer. And that's the innate wellness showing up when all the busyness in your head is settled. It's there. So just look for it because you'll see it. It's absolutely there. Okay. And thanks for those who've commented and sharing stuff with me. What does it for me is when someone dies, starts. Yeah, because you're thinking about death. That's a surefire way to be thinking and worrying about death, to get us start reflecting on our own bodies and what might be wrong with us. So that's exactly what happened. And it isn't nice. It isn't nice. And I'm sure at some stage we've all thought about death, because that's something that is going to come to us all at some point. It's kind of like, do you really want to be thinking about that? If that pops into your head, I'd just leave it well alone until another thought comes along. Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.